guys, so today we are doing an old-fashioned Q&A video. It has been so long since I've done one of these on my channel, so I figured Vlogmas was the perfect time to do one. I'm also going to be putting on some makeup today, got some products from my makeup basket and just other things I want to use. So if I don't mention every single product I'm using, I will have everything listed down below in case you're wondering. But yeah, I asked you guys on my Instagram stories and my YouTube community tab for any questions that you had, and you guys came through with a lot of great ones. So let's go ahead and get started. For foundation today, I'm going to use my Ilia Super Serum Skin Tint, and my primer slash sunscreen is the Unsun Everyday Mineral Tinted Sunscreen. I've actually been loving that sunscreen. It's very mattifying, but oddly enough, I really like it, and I find that it helps my makeup wear so much longer. So a lot of questions were asking how things are going since I quit my job to do YouTube full-time. So I'll go ahead and answer those. People were asking, is YouTube still your full-time job? Are you loving it? Yes, so I am still doing YouTube as my full-time gig. If you missed it, I did kind of a life update video, I think back in August, talking about, why I left my job, my reasoning and everything. And so I can link that for you below if you want to hear more about that. But long story short, I've been at the same nonprofit job for about 4 years. And in July of this year, I did decide to leave that job because, number one, I kind of had just realized that I didn't really want to work in that field anymore. And I didn't see that job or even a job in that field kind of in my long-term future goals as it is. And at the same time, YouTube was becoming more and more of a viable income source for me, and I had always wanted to do YouTube full-time and social media full-time, and I kind of just decided to take a leap and try it out, and that was honestly the best decision I've ever made. I'm loving it. It's working great so far, and I'm just really happy with it. I don't regret my decision in the slightest, and I've just been having so much fun being able to devote all of my working hours to YouTube. It's just been so much fun. So yes, it's going great so far. And honestly, like I said, even if it weren't for YouTube, I also just knew deep down that that was not the job I wanted to be in, and it just felt like a natural time to kind of move on and close that chapter and just kind of figure out what was next. So I kind of wanted to give myself 6 months to a year to just be able to try out YouTube as my full-time job and just see where that took me. And so we are now 4 or 5 months out from that, and so far it's going great. It's working really well for me. I love being self-employed. I think that that is the ideal kind of work setup for me. I love working for myself. I love kind of having full creative control over my job and my schedule and being able to decide what work I do and don't take on. I love it. I've always just been a very independent person, so I feel like it just makes sense for me. So, and this is a good question kind of pertaining to that. Did you save up before quitting your full-time job, and how has your spending changed since? And yes, I did save up. So much earlier this year, I decided that I definitely did want to leave my job at some point within the coming year. And so once I made that decision, long before I quit my job, I started just really aggressively saving up a lot of my paychecks into a savings account that was basically my quitting my job fund because I knew I wanted to give myself the freedom to pursue YouTube once I did quit my job. So that way, even if for some reason I made $0 from YouTube for 6 months, I would still be covered. And luckily that has not been the case. My income from YouTube has only increased since I made that transition. But I definitely think that was, for me at least, a necessary thing to do because I wanted to be able to give myself that freedom to just go all in with YouTube and not have to worry about it being a huge financial risk or anything. And how has your spending changed since? I would say I'm just using my budgeting skills more now than I did before because I don't have a set salary. I don't have a specific amount that I'm earning every paycheck. With any kind of self-employed or freelance type of job, you don't have a set amount that you're earning every month. It varies month to month, so you definitely have to know how to budget and manage your money. I don't really mind that. I know some people really don't like the idea of not making the same exact amount every month, but it really doesn't bother me. But I would say because of that, I am just trying to live a little bit more frugally and just make sure that I'm keeping track of where my spending is going. As far as makeup spending, if anything, I'm even a little bit more willing to spend on my channel, whether it be, well, I really haven't had to buy any new equipment since I quit my job, but I'm a little bit more willing to purchase products for a video in case there's a video I really want to do. I don't mind because it's an investment in my business now. But luckily my channel really doesn't hinge a whole lot on purchasing new makeup every month for review, and my overall expenses for my channel are pretty low, just because my channel is more focused on, you know, shopping your stash and using what I have and things like that. But, you know, if there ever is a video that I really want to do, like for example, I recently did a video on trying makeup that you guys recommended to me, and I did purchase several products for that video, and I felt really comfortable doing that because it was a video that I felt like would do well, and I was just excited to do it. So things like that, you know, I'm if anything, I'm a little bit more willing to spend if I see it as a good investment in my channel. But like I said, I definitely don't see my channel changing into a review channel where I'm buying a ton of new makeup every month. That's just never really been what I wanted to do, so I don't see that changing a whole lot. And then another question was, any new job prospects aside from YouTube, or are you planning YouTube full-time? So yeah, no new job prospects. I haven't been looking for a new job. I've just been kind of putting all of my energy into YouTube for this kind of chunk of 6 months to a year that I'd sort of set for myself. And that's not to say I won't ever get another job, but let's just say hypothetically, within the next year, we were to move to a bigger city where the cost of living is higher, which, by the way, that's another thing where we currently live. The cost of living is really relatively low, so that was another thing that made it feel like a good time to kind of jump into doing YouTube full-time. But if we hypothetically were to move to a bigger city with a higher cost of living at some point, I would probably get a second job, probably a part-time job, but it really just depends on, you know, where I'm at with my channel and everything. But right now, I don't feel like I need to. So for concealer, I used my CoverGirl Clean Fresh Hydrating Concealer. I actually really like this. It's a lower coverage one, but it's very lightweight and it doesn't make my under eyes look crepey. And then to bump up the coverage a little bit, I used the Becca Corrector in light to medium, just in kind of the innermost part to just brighten it up, give me a little more coverage. So I really like that. You can see how dewy that Ilia Skin Tint is. I haven't powdered it yet, I'm about to, but I do just feel like that over a mattifying sunscreen is like the perfect combo. Probably pre-filming this like a month in advance right now. So some of these products, at the time you're watching this, I might already be done with in my project pan, in case you're like, wait a minute, you already finished that. I don't know, I can't predict the future, but. So let's switch gears to a makeup question. What's one splurge makeup item that's on your wish list? I feel like the only real like splurge item that I have my eye on, and it's not a new release or anything, but it's the Charlotte Tilbury bronzer. It's quite a splurge. I think it's like $50-something, and I have my eye on the one in the lightest shade. And the reason why is because, number one, that specific shade looks like the perfect bronzer tone for me, and just also like the perfect depth. I don't like to go too deep with my bronzer, and it just looks like it would be a really easy, user-friendly bronzer for me. And also, I feel like everybody who has that bronzer loves it. And so it's kind of on my wish list. Even though it's expensive, it also comes with a lot of product, so I feel like it would be a pretty good like bang for your buck. Okay, here's a fun question. Did you have an almost name when your parents were deciding like what to name me? And yes, I did. I was supposed to be named Anna, actually. And it was between Sarah and Anna. My mom really wanted to name me Anna. My dad wanted to name me Sarah. And so the deal was, using my Aether Highlight in Pure Diamond Dust, and the deal was if I was born on an even-numbered minute, my mom would get to pick. And if I was born on an odd-numbered minute, my dad would get to pick between those two names. My dad is a retired math professor, by the way, so everything is always numerical with him, but that was the deal. And I was born at 12:46 p.m., which is an even number. So according to the deal they made, my mom was going to pick Anna, but they said that when I was born and they were able to finally see my face and everything, my mom thought I looked more like a Sarah, so that's why they went with the name Sarah. So that's the story. But yeah, I like both names. I like both Sarah and Anna. I feel like Anna is less common, at least in my age group. But okay, here's a question from Emily. What is it like living in Georgia, and what states have you lived in, and which was your favorite? So I have lived in 3 states. I was born in North Carolina, but we only lived there until I was 6, so I don't have much of a memory of living there. And then I've lived in Georgia, of course, and Washington State. I lived in Seattle for a year, so I've definitely spent the most time in Georgia. I've lived in a couple different parts of Georgia. It's not my favorite, honestly. I don't plan to stay here. The only reason I'm here is because it's where my family lives. It is where my parents live, so that's kind of the main reason I live here. But my parents also don't know if they're going to stay in Georgia, so who knows what the future holds. But Washington State was definitely my favorite state that I've lived in. I love the Pacific Northwest. Seattle is my favorite city. I feel like it's such an ideal city for me because it's temperate. I love the landscape. I love the mix of like nature with the city. Some cities are just like pure concrete all the way through, but Seattle, you see bits of nature everywhere you go. You see the mountains in the background. It's just a beautiful city. So I love it there. That was my favorite place that I've lived so far. And yeah, Georgia, what's it like living in Georgia? It has its bonuses, like it is cheaper to live here, so that's nice. I don't love how hot it gets in the summer. I'm not a fan of heat or humidity. And I feel like it's getting less and less temperate here as the years go on. It's hot, but then it can get pretty cold in the winter. Like obviously not anything compared to like actual cold climates, but it can get cold. When we get snow in Georgia, we don't have the infrastructure to handle it, and so it leads to like gridlocks on the interstate and everything shuts down. People don't know what to do because we don't have like salt trucks. We don't have any kind of resources to handle any kind of wintry weather, so it's just a mess whenever that happens. Yeah, so I don't necessarily have a ton of glowing things to say about Georgia, to be honest with you. Oh yeah, also, North Georgia is being taken over by giant yellow spiders, so if you don't like spiders, don't move here. And they are expanding to other parts of Georgia now, too. So they're an invasive species, the Joro spider. They came from Japan, I think. They somehow got here on a shipping container, and now they're taking over the entire world. There's a stretch of time from, like, I guess August through October. Now that it's getting cooler, they're finally leaving, but when you went outside, everywhere you looked, you would spot a Joro spider. They were in trees, they were in power lines, they were between like satellite dishes and like the side of my building. Like they were everywhere. We couldn't even, there's like a little path from our apartment to our dumpster that we use. We couldn't take that path because there were just spider webs all through it. So we had to go like all the way around the parking lot. It was just not fun. So that was also enough to make me sure that I do not want to stay in Georgia for very long because I hate spiders. I do have a fear of spiders, although as I get older, I am getting better about it, slowly. Still hate them though. Did I just convince all of you to move to Georgia? Probably not. Okay, I'm trying to decide what to use for eyeshadow. I'm between my Billie Beauty palette and my Sultry palette. Kind of leaning towards Sultry. I just think this is such a great holiday time palette. XMermaid7X asks, do you still live with your boyfriend? Do you have any vacations planned? And what are your favorite candle scents? So yes, I do still live with my boyfriend. We have been officially living together since March of this year. And it's honestly the best. I mean, we had already, like, even before we were officially living together, we were already spending so much time together. He was spending so much time over here that it just kind of made sense for him to go ahead and move in. So it really wasn't like a huge transition for us. And it's been going great. I feel like we make great roommates and we just have a lot of fun together with our cats. Do you have any vacations planned? I don't. I just haven't really been that just hasn't really been a priority, I guess, for the last couple of years for me. And then, what are your favorite candle scents? Right now, it is any kind of like evergreen scented or Christmas tree scented candle right now. That's what I have burning in the background. It's Winter Balsam from Aldi's Huntington Home collection. I bought that the other day. They had like some single wick holiday candles, so I figured that'd be perfect for my Vlogmas background. It smells so good. That's my favorite right now. I also love any kind of like baked good scented candle, as long as it's not too sickly sweet. The only scents I don't really like are like really floral scents. I'm not super into those, and very, I guess, candles that smell like candy. Those are just a little bit too much for me. But other than that, any kind of foodie scent or any kind of, even some woodsy scents I like for candles. Alright, I'm gonna go in with the shade Twig here, starting out. Alex Hall asks, how did you meet your boyfriend? I'm from the UK. How does it feel knowing people from all over the world are watching you from their homes? So I'll answer the second part of that first. It feels crazy. It feels so surreal. I will never get used to it. Every now and then I'll think about the fact that there are so many people who know me out there, and it just freaks me out a little bit, in a good way. Like, it's just such a weird and cool feeling knowing that I get to be part of your lives, and the fact that you guys take the time to watch my videos, like, thank you so much. I'll never get used to that feeling, but it's the coolest feeling, and I know some of you guys are tuning in from all over the world, and that just makes me so happy. So yeah. And then, how did you meet your boyfriend? We met in college. We were both he was a year older than me, but we were both in this, like, vegan club. That sounds so lame. But it was called Speak Out for Species, and it was just kind of like an animal advocacy student organization. And so we were both kind of involved in that. I was more involved than he was, but he was, he was friends with another one of our friends, so we kind of met through that mutual friend. The year after we graduated college, we were actually roommates because of our mutual friend, who I actually knew much better than Nathan at the time. But he told me that they were looking for a fourth roommate, and I was also looking for a place to live at the time, so it just worked out perfectly. And we were friends long before we started dating, but we actually both moved to different cities before we ever started dating. He moved to LA around the same time that I moved to Seattle, and then he came back here because he didn't like LA. Neither would I, honestly. Yeah, I don't think I could ever live there, but he came back here and I was still in Seattle, and then we kind of started talking, and then he like visited me a few times, and then I moved back here. The rest is history. So that's the story so far. Livia asks, how do you not get bored of your makeup collection? Asking for a friend. The friend is me. I mean, I kind of feel like that's what my whole channel is about, so maybe watch my videos. I'm just kidding. But for me, it's all about striking a balance between project panning and shopping my stash. Those two things keep me excited to use my products, and that's just what works for me. But there's a lot of different ways to go about doing those things in a way that works for you and your lifestyle, your makeup using habits. So yeah, I recently started a monthly makeup basket where I kind of have things that I switch out on a rolling basis, and that's been a lot of fun. Doing things like 1 week, 1 palette, or 1 month, 1 palette are really fun for me. And yeah, I feel like as long as I'm always trying to find new, exciting, different ways to use the products that I already have, I don't feel as tempted to go out and purchase new makeup. So, and I have to say, I have not felt bored of my makeup in a long time. And a lot of the products that I have are older products. Oh, and then, how long have you been with your boyfriend? Do you see yourself getting married? We've been together for just over 2 years. It was 2 years in August, so I guess almost 2.5 years now. And do you see yourself getting married? Honestly, marriage is not a tippy-top priority for me right now. Let's see, when you're watching this, I'm 27, but when I'm filming it, I'm 26, about to turn 27. And I don't know, I just don't feel that strongly about getting married. It's not a big goal of mine. Never say never. I think if I were to get married, I would probably wait until I'm like well into my 30s. Maybe maybe early to mid 30s, I don't know. But I'm in no rush whatsoever, and I also just think, you don't have to get married. Like, you can be in a long-term committed relationship and not want to get married, Anyway, it's just not something I'm really in a rush to do. And then in a similar vein, do you want kids? Again, kind of same answer. I don't have this strong desire to have kids. I know some people go their whole life growing up just knowing that they want to have kids one day. I have never been one of those people. I'm not that much of a kid person, to be honest. I didn't grow up with kids. I was the youngest. I just have one older sister, so I never had younger siblings. Never really had any close, like, younger cousins, so I don't, honestly, this might be weird, but I don't even think I've ever held a baby before, like a human baby. Is that weird? I don't know. I've never had the opportunity, I guess. So again, that's just not really a huge priority of mine at this point in my life, but I also like knowing that I have the option to change my mind if I ever want to. I wouldn't just want to like get my tubes tied right now. Like I'd like to have the option at some point. And because also just looking back, like when I look back 5 years ago, I've changed my mind on so many things. My opinions have changed on so many things. So 5-10 years from now, I might really want to start a family. So I'm open to it. But at this point, I just feel like there's so much I would want to do before I'd ever even think about having kids. And I just feel like I have a lot more to learn before I would even be ready to think about it. And kids are also very, very, very expensive. So that's another thing to keep in mind too. So anyway, long story short, big maybe, but right now, kind of leaning towards no. It smells so good in here. I wish you guys could smell it. This candle is so good. So I just put some of Dystopian in my outer corner, kind of up into my crease as well. Kind of keeping things pretty simple today. All right, I'm going to take Cyborg as my lid shade. I'm just going to apply that with my finger. I love this shade. It's so pretty. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Ooh, another good question. Do you have set goals for YouTube and Instagram in terms of subscribers and followers? And I really don't. I stopped setting like follower or subscriber count goals a while ago because number one, you just have so little control over that, and number two, your subscriber count really doesn't matter that much compared to other metrics like your engagement rate. Like for example, somebody could have 100,000 subscribers and get an average of 3,000 views per video, and somebody could have 10,000 subscribers and also get an average of 3,000 views per video. There's really no difference as far as your reach, right? Like you're still reaching the same number of eyes. I don't know, I just think it doesn't matter as much as it used to or as much as people think it does. So I really don't get too hung up on subscriber count. Like I said, I used to set those kinds of goals, like I want to hit this subscriber count by the end of the year. And I stopped doing that because I kind of just realized I was setting myself up for disappointment for no reason because, like I said, those numbers really don't matter. It's not that numbers don't matter because they do, but those numbers aren't really the most important thing. So I try to set goals more for engagement, like, how many views I want to be getting, things like that. I just always want my number one focus to be my audience. Am I serving my audience? Am I giving them what they want? Am I making interesting content that they're engaging with? That kind of thing. That's what I like to focus on because that's what really matters. That's what I try to stick to. I just realized I forgot bronzer. I'm going to use my Milani Silky Matte Bronzer. Have you ever thought about moving to another country? Not really. Not seriously anyway. It's kind of hard to do. And as much as I like the idea of living in another country, I don't know if I'd actually want to do it because I'd be so far away from my family. I think I just prefer to like travel to other countries rather than the idea of living in another country. But I'm not opposed to it. I mean, maybe one day I will. It's just not something I've really seriously considered at all. Just using a little bit of Noir for some liner. Okay, I went ahead and did mascara. I've got my e.l.f. Lash It Loud on the top lashes and my CoverGirl Lash Blast in brown on the bottom lashes. Did get a little bit there, which I'm going to clean up in a second. For lipstick, I want to wear one of these new BK Beauty lipsticks. How I'm going to decide which one, I don't know. I might do Passion. This is a nice, like, deep rosy nude. It's almost got a little bit of red to it. All right, the last question I'm going to answer is, did the pandemic change your relationship with your friends and loved ones? If yes, how? And I definitely think it did. I feel like it did for everybody, but for me, I think it's just made me value quality time with friends and family even more than I did before. I feel like in the past, I might have let work related things come first, and obviously those things are important to me, but now when somebody asks me to hang out or wants to do something with me, I am much more likely to just say yes than I was in the past, because to me, I think there's just nothing more important than your relationships with other people. So especially with, you know, the pandemic and with quarantine and everything, I think it's been very eye-opening for all of us that having the ability to see your loved ones is very much a privilege that you shouldn't take for granted. So that is, I feel like that's kind of how it has changed my perspective. I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. And yeah, I feel like it's changed my perspective in a lot of positive ways, even though I don't, if I could go back, I wish the pandemic had never happened, but in a lot of ways I do think it's led to a lot of positive mindset shifts for me. So, but I think those are all the questions I'm going to be able to answer today. Thank you so much for submitting all these wonderful questions and for watching my videos. I really do appreciate all of you. I wish I could give you all a big hug. Just accept this virtual hug instead, if you will. But I hope you guys are enjoying Vlogmas so far, and I will see you again tomorrow for my next video. Bye.